Hi, welcome to an Arduino step-by-step course by Robojax. Now let's have a look at the Arduino function, how a function functions. We first look at the definition, how we define a function. A function will look something like this. We have type of return value, and then we have a name, then open, close parenthesis, this must exist. Then we have curly parenthesis and something in between. So this is the main type of function. And what is a function? A function is a portion of the program code that does a specific task, which can be used repeatedly. For example, you create a function that converts Fahrenheit to Celsius, and in your program you need it multiple times. Anytime you need it, you just call that function and it will do the conversion for you. And if we look carefully at the function, this is what you will have regardless of the name that you change or this one. I'm referring to this green, blue, and this portion, and this portion. Actually, if we put that curly parenthesis, this is what a function is. All the action that a function does will be between this opening and closing parenthesis. Your function, the task that a function does will be inside this. So I made it like that. This is the void here, or whatever you have, the first word would be referring to the return. When you have when nothing is returned, we type void. Otherwise, we type integer, boolean, char, double, and all other data type that we have. Everything will be here, including a string. But if you are not returning anything, we type void. And this is a function name. In order to name a function, for example, the function name cannot start with a number, cannot have a space, cannot use reserved names, for example, void, loop, and other variable name that we have reserved for the Arduino. Opening, closing, and here this is called a parameter that this receives, and this is the action that this function performs. It does just print this. It gets in whatever is in and comes here, and it prints it on the serial monitor. How this is used? We just use the function name, print name, and inside the open close parenthesis, this is a must. Every time you call a function, this is referring to a function, open and closing parenthesis. And because this is string, we pass this parameter here. When we run this code, this Ahmad is assigned to n and becomes n, and n is now, when you use serial print, this will print Ahmad on the screen. And this is another function, and return is an integer now. Before it was void, and this is a function name, and this is a parameter that it receives. This function receives an integer. And because the name says get days, this function receives a, and let's say a is age, and this function multiplies it by 365, which will give number of days a person has lived. And this is the example how it's used. The function name is get days. You put get days, and inside the parenthesis you put an integer number without a quotation or anything. This is determining what you can put here. If this is integer, you must put an integer. You cannot put a word or text or a letter value. This function will return a times 365. So this block is a function, and that is the name. When you use it, you will type get day, and then you pass this 25. The mouth is open, and you put this number. This number enters this function. As soon as it receives it in here, it will assign it to a letter or variable a like this. Integer a is equal to 25. So this a will be automatically 25. And next we have a times 365 will be 9,125. And it will return 9,125. So 9,125 is out. Now, what it means is that if you anywhere inside the serial monitor or anywhere if you do some calculation with this, get day 25, this means the whole thing means 9,125. Automatically this is just a number because it's done, calculated, and comes back, and the result is a number. You can either print it on serial monitor or assign it to another variable or do some calculation, multiply, add, subtract, whatever else you want. It's just a number, 9,125. And let's say if we have get days integer, how we use it. We say serial print get days 25. So this 25 goes to this function, which means it comes here and it becomes a. And then we get a multiplied by 365. It will become a number and it will return it back. If you use it in serial monitor, it will just print the result of 25 multiplied by 365. Or you can use it this way. Get days 25. This time, because we're not printing it, we are assigning it to a new variable called days of type integer. So we have to know that get days 25 is a number 9,125. Because if you pass 25 times 365 is 9,125. So this is a number. Either you print it, pass it to the serial monitor, or assign it to another variable. This is also a function. Println is a function from the serial monitor. So get days, we will pass the value here. This will be 9,125 and will be printed on the screen. And this is another type of function. Here it says float and pi. This is a return type. The return is float. And this is a function name. And it does not have any parameter. It doesn't need anything. So what it does is it returns the value of pi. And how we use it? We use, for example, because this is returning the value, we use pi and open close parenthesis. We just use this one because this doesn't have any parameter, any value. We don't pass any value. We just say, give me the pi. And because whatever we typed will be returned as pi. So this is how we use it. And this is another way, for example, this one as a return nothing. And this is how we use it. If we want to print it on the screen, we just put this inside the serial monitor function here. And print name, and it receives nothing. So it doesn't return anything and doesn't have any parameter here. And it prints this in variable. If you check here, n is a string, and the text that is here, it says robojax.com. So Robojax is assigned to n, and this will print robojax.com on the screen. This one is a type string, and the name of the function is make text. But this time it receives a double value, and whatever it receives, it will be called temperature. And here it returns something based on the value of temperature. For example, we check if temperature is bigger than 60, return this text, because this is a string, so it will return this text. Very hot, else, which means if it's not bigger than 60, equal or smaller, we will return the text not hot. We can do it also a little differently. Temperature, when temperature comes here, we check it. But here we have defined a new text, string, new text. And if the temperature is bigger than 60 or 60.5 degrees, we put very hot into this variable. So we assign this value to the new text that we have defined here. We assign it here. Else we assign not hot to this text, and then here we say return new text, this text which has either this or this depending on the temperature value. This will return. Now let's get started with showing you the example of function in Arduino. In the setup, I've just defined this 9600 baud with a serial monitor to begin, and then inside the loop I have nothing except this delay of 1000. This is a function with a return void, so it doesn't return anything. The function name is print text. It receives a string. When it receives it, it is assigned to T, and then serial print ln will print the T for us. Here we say I love Arduino, and we pass this string, you see double quotation, we pass it to this. When we pass it, this text receive I love Arduino, it will become T here, and then serial print T will print it for us. This is printing I love Arduino using this function every 1000 milliseconds. And here is another function, get days. This is returning integer, and it also receives an integer. Whatever you pass to this function, it will become A, and then A multiplied by 365. It will convert it to number of days. Let's say A is age, 25 times 365. Whatever is the result of this multiplication will be returned. And this is how we use it. We use a function name get days, and we pass this 25 to this function. When it goes to the function, it's being calculated, and the result of this become a number which we send it to serial print ln to print it for us on the serial monitor. And here it prints 9125, which is this 25 goes here, and when it arrives here it becomes 25. It becomes A, and A times 365 is this. Here is another function. This is a returning float, and it's called get area, and it has two variables, W and L, the length and the width. And when it arrives here, it's being multiplied, stored in a new variable called area of type float, and the area is now being returned. To use it, and here we call this time get area, and we pass two values, 4.5 and 3.9. When these two values go to this function, the first one becomes L, and the second one becomes W, and is being multiplied, and the result, which is 17.55, is being returned back to this function. You can use it this way. Two values is passed to this function, and this will be 17.55, and we assign it to the variable called area with a type float. Now area is holding 17.55, and we pass it here to this print ln to print it for us. Or we can do it this way. We assign 4.5 to a variable length of type float, and also we have a width, a value assigned to this variable called width of the type float. And when we call this function, we pass length, which is 4.5, and we pass width, which is 3.9, and the result is exactly the same. So this is extra ways that you can do it. And here's a function make text, and when it receives a temperature of double type, we check it. Temperature is bigger than 60.5. This is a new string, so new text is equal to very hot. Else means if the temperature is not bigger than 60 or equal, then we say new text is equal hot. Remember that you can also put this one, so this will be exactly 60 or above. This means above and equal 60. If you remove this, it must be above 60.5. Here this is how we use it, makes text, and then 61.0 is passed to this. When it receives it, the result is a text, which we assign it to a variable called result of type string. And then we print the result using the serial print. This is how you see it. And if you pass 42.7 to this text, it will print not hot. And here is our function pi, which returns a double. The double can be also float. It's just the floating point will be 15 decimal places with a double, so it's better to use float. And this is how we use it. Pi serial print. So this pi goes to that variable and comes back and prints it. When you run it, it prints 3.14. The reason is that the serial monitor prints only 2 decimal places. If you want more decimal places, put comma and then the number of decimal. For example, if I put here 5, it will print 5 decimal places. As you can see, this is 5 decimal places. This is another example of function of return type float. The function name is getPower, and it receives float type as I. It's whatever it receives, we call it I, and it gets I multiplied by voltage and returns. It gets a power, and in electronic, power is a result of multiplication between the voltage and the current. Where is the voltage coming from? Voltage is here a global variable of type float, and we put constant because it's not changing. And this 3.3 is, let's say, the voltage that you want to calculate the power. Because voltage is not changing in a system and you want to see, based on the current, calculate the power. So this voltage is coming to the function from this location. The function gets this 3.76. This I become 3.76 and multiply by 3.3 the voltage, and this is the result. Now let's have a look at displaying this float value, 23.123456789 and then 1. This is a 10 digits, and we want to display it. It shows 23.12. It shows only it as second digit, and by default serial monitor always displays 2 decimal places. If you want more decimal places, you have to specify it within the serial monitor by placing a comma and then number of digits. For example, if you put 4, you will get 4 decimal places. But as you can see here, this is supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and it has been fine as 5. So this 4 have been rounded to be 5. And this is due to the floating point calculation. If we do 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 9, this is the exact same 10 digits. Now let's pay attention what happens. And that has been rounded. And that has been rounded. Now let me check this. 10 decimal places. Pay attention, we are using float. Arduino, the float has 6 to 7 decimal places. Now 9, 8, 6, 7, 5, 4 is missing, and then it has changed because it should be 4, 3, 2, 1. For the 10 digits, and for the 4 also it has been rounded. You might say that because I'm not using float, this has changed. Now look at this value. I'm changing it to 1. Let me keep this. In here. And let me change this to 1 and see the result. So let me put it here. So you see the value has changed because this one has affected the way internal calculation is being conducted. And as you can see here, 8 is 8, 6, 7. After 5, this 3 has been changed to 4, 7 have been changed to 4, and 3 have been changed to 9. So now let's put the same values as double. Let's try. I've converted that to double, and I'm printing exact same thing. This time I'm call it B. Let's see what it does print. As you can see, the algorithm, whatever is internally, it prints exact same thing. And if you use float or if you use double. Now let's change this to 9 and see if double behaves differently. If we get this number, we are getting exactly this number. This was when this was 9. That was the result. So keep that in mind, that this is a very important matter, and you can get up to 4 decimal places. Let me put 6 now. And as you can see, 6, 5, 3, 4 is gone. I put them in order, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So it has been rounded down. I've conducted this test on Arduino Uno and Arduino Mega. And also I use this, and the result is exactly the same. Please make sure to subscribe by clicking at the subscribe button in here. Thank you. Thank you for watching the tutorial from Robojax. If you learned something and found this useful, please thumb up, as this will help my video in the search algorithm of YouTube. If you have comment or question, please post it at the comment section below.